If you've ever heard your dog sigh and thought, "Aw, cute," you're actually witnessing something far more meaningful than you realize. That little puff of air isn't just a sound, it's an emotional signal. A moment where your dog lets you peek behind the curtain into the world they rarely show anyone. A sigh can reveal trust, contentment, even a kind of unspoken conversation only the two of you share. Most people miss the emotional story behind a dog's sigh, but you don't have to be one of them. And if you love learning the real emotional language of dogs, go ahead and hit subscribe. This channel is all about understanding your dog on a whole different level. So let's decode the sigh, because once you understand it, you'll never hear your dog the same way again. Chapter 1. The moment you hear a sigh. Picture this. Your dog circles their bed twice, drops their whole body with a soft thump, and then lets out a long, dramatic exhale that sounds like they just finished paying taxes. Instantly recognizable, right? That moment, that tiny sound, is one we all know. Maybe it happens when they curl up behind your knees on the couch, or after a long walk where their tail finally stops wagging like a helicopter. And every time there's this funny little thought that pops up. Why does that sigh feel so human? Now, this isn't just because it's cute or because we want to project emotions onto them. Dogs sigh because something inside them is shifting. It's what behaviorists often describe as an emotional release, a tiny window into the way their inner world settles after a moment of excitement, connection, or even anticipation. Think about the last time your dog sighed. Were they melting into you, winding down, asking for something without moving a muscle? Hold that memory for a second, because understanding that moment makes the next part even more fascinating. Chapter 2. The Science of the Sigh. Here's a bold truth. Your dog's sigh is basically their nervous system flipping a switch, and it starts right where we left off, with that moment you remembered. The one where something inside them seemed to settle. What looks like a simple breath is actually your dog's body shifting gears. Scientists call it a change in arousal state, but all that really means is this. Their breathing pattern is telling you what their emotions are doing. When a dog sighs, their body is performing a tiny reset. Think of it like hitting refresh on a page that was loading a little too slowly. The sympathetic nervous system, the part that ramps them up for excitement or stress, steps back, and the parasympathetic system takes over. The one that calms everything down. Trainers and behaviorists see this all the time during decompression moments, like after a training session or during quiet cuddles. This goes beyond a cute noise. It's your dog's biology saying, "We're good. I can breathe easy again." And once you understand that, the emotional reasons behind those sighs start to hit even harder, which is exactly where we're heading next. Chapter 3. The heart-melting reasons dogs sigh. Why does that tiny breath carry so much emotion? You already know the science behind the switch your dog's body flips, but now we get to the part that hits you right in the chest. What that sigh actually means to them. And honestly, these reasons are the ones that stay with you. A contentment sigh is the big one. It happens when your dog feels completely safe, like every muscle in their body finally trusts the moment they're in. It's the canine version of sinking into your favorite chair after a long day. Pure comfort wrapped in your presence. Then there's the relief sigh, the one you might hear after grooming, the vet, or finally getting home. It's their way of saying, "Okay, that's over. I'm okay now." And of course, the wishful sigh, that dramatic, almost theatrical exhale when they want something but don't want to beg for it. It's subtle, but you can feel the hope in it. But the one that gets every dog owner? That soft, warm exhale when they're pressed against you. That's a connection sigh. Their quiet way of saying, "I feel safe with you." And once you start noticing these emotional shades, it becomes impossible not to wonder about the sighs we misread every day, which is where we're headed next. Chapter 4. Misinterpreted sighs. Imagine if every time you sighed, people assumed you were bored with them. Sounds ridiculous, right? But that's exactly what happens to dogs all the time. And it connects perfectly to those emotional meanings we just explored. Because once you know sighs can mean trust or relief, it becomes really clear how often we humans accidentally misread them. A lot of owners jump straight to sadness, like their dog is disappointed or having some sort of existential moment on the couch. But most sighs aren't sadness at all. They're emotional neutrality or gentle release. Now, this isn't to say dogs never get frustrated. They do. But frustration usually sounds different. More of a huff, that sharp little pff where their cheeks puff out. A sigh is slower, longer, softer. Two totally different signals. Of course, there are moments when sighing can point to discomfort, like if it comes with lethargy or unusual stillness. But if your dog is acting normal, eating, playing, and being their usual self, you're in the clear. And once you understand what sighs aren't, it opens up an even cooler question. Do all dogs sigh the same way? Or does their breed change the story? Chapter 5. Does every dog sigh the same way? Here's a confession. Not all sighs are created equal, and some breeds practically turn it into performance art. And this flows right from what we just talked about. Once you stop assuming every sigh means the same thing, you start noticing how different dogs express themselves. Some do it delicately. Others? They make it sound like they've lived through 12 lifetimes of drama. Take vocal breeds like Huskies or German Shepherds. These dogs don't just sigh, they narrate their emotions. A Husky will throw in a half-opera note just to make sure you're paying attention. Meanwhile, brachycephalic breeds like Frenchies or Bulldogs often make sigh-like sounds simply because of their facial structure. The trick is noticing the difference between a true emotional exhale and their normal breathing soundtrack. Sporting and working breeds tend to sigh more after mental or physical challenges. Their version of task complete. And seniors? Their sighs carry a kind of gentle, earned wisdom, while puppies sigh more out of simple exhaustion. And honestly, once you start hearing these breed-specific quirks, it makes you wonder something even more personal. What do you do with those sighs when they happen? That's where things get really meaningful next. Chapter 6. How to respond to your dog's sigh. Here's a wild thought. What if your dog's sigh is actually an invitation? And it ties perfectly into everything we've uncovered so far. Once you notice the emotional textures behind each sigh, the contentment, the relief, the wishful little hopes, your instinct shifts. You stop hearing a noise, and you start hearing a moment your dog is offering you. When your dog gives that soft, warm contentment sigh, the best thing you can do is mirror their calm. Slow your breathing. Settle your shoulders. You're reinforcing that this space with you is safe. Sometimes a gentle hand resting on their chest is enough. Nothing extra, nothing overstimulating, just presence. If it's a wishful sigh, you get a tiny choice. Meet the need, or lovingly hold the boundary. Dogs thrive on clarity, and responding with intention strengthens your communication. Turn these sighs into little rituals. A quiet pause, a shared breath, a moment where neither of you needs words. Because here's the truth. Your dog sighs because of you. That's a bond worth protecting. And once you start responding intentionally, you'll begin noticing patterns. Moments where those sighs tell a whole story. Here's a question for you. What if every sigh your dog gives is a message you've just learned how to hear? And it ties in perfectly with all those real-life stories we just walked through, because now you can spot it. A sigh isn't just a noise your dog makes when they flop onto the couch. It's an emotional message wrapped inside a breath. Sometimes it's trust. Sometimes it's relief. Sometimes it's their quiet way of saying, I'm okay. I'm home. I'm with you. And the fact that you notice these things, that says a lot about you as a dog owner. Dogs don't sigh this way around just anyone. They sigh when they feel safe, when their world feels steady, when you have given them a space where their body can finally soften. That's something to feel genuinely proud of. So now I want to hear from you. What's your dog's signature sigh? Do they do it during cuddles? Right before bed? After a long walk? Tell me in the comments. I love reading these moments because each one says something beautiful about your bond. Thanks for being here. Thanks for loving your dog the way you do. And I'll see you in the next video.